And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
And together we are leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We also founded Codename, so we've got that going for us too.
And we're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
One day I'm going to do the show without you, and I'm going to do a one-man reenactment of all of your answers.
Veto.
Do you get veto on that?
I do.
If you're not here, how do you
Virtual veto. Today is our 39th episode.
And it's Star Wars Day.
No, I think that was yesterday.
Oh, well, if it's good enough for one day, it's good enough for two.
I think maybe the 4th and 5th be with you just doesn't have the same ring to it.
It just needs better merchandising, like our show.
Oh, no.
Because we're going to have Dev Insights, the breakfast cereal, the lunchbox, the flamethrower.
That's not even a Star Wars reference. That's Spaceballs.
It's close enough, right?
Anyway, we are here to answer your development and design questions about Idle Champions. That's true.
Yep. But if you don't ask any questions, however, you may just have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of the Star Wars Holiday Special.
I did not agree to that.
Nevertheless, you're committed now.
Well, I can't really do a worse job, I guess.
And regardless of how well you do, it's still going to end up archived on our YouTube channel, which is more than I can say for the Star Wars Special.
Oh, snap.
I don't think we could be allowed to put the Star Wars channel or Star Wars Special on our YouTube channel. I think that's a no-no. Anyway, as always, we have pulled some questions from the previous show that we didn't get to last time, and we will answer some of those while waiting for new questions to come in. That said, we do have something a little bit different today, or hopefully we do, and that is that we've been working the last week on trying to get in what we are currently terming the Champion Dismantle system, which is a system that will let you take all of the golden items, the shiny items, the legendary levels, the eye levels, and some of the feats that were purchasable with gems off of a champion and redistribute them to another champion. Now, this is a feature that we've been talking about after some of the rebalance and the debuffing of champions that we wanted to have available, so that if in the event that we change a champion and you're looking at that champion thinking that this is not something that you wanted to be invested in that way anymore, that you will have an option to get that and move it over to another champion of your choice. And so I have with me here, hopefully, fingers crossed, an in-progress build of this feature. And we just were going to do a quick demo of what we've got so that you can see how it's coming and then provide some questions on that. So let's see if this works. Don't usually do a game demo from this system, so I'm going to pop that up. And hopefully this will work, and hopefully you can still hear us, because this is a new setup for us. Okay, so
Yeah, that looks right.
things looking right. Hopefully you can still hear us.
Click, 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 click.
All right. So I'm going to assume that you can still hear us. They'll let us know if they can't. I'm going to start here. And Justin, you can probably see some of this too, but it's a little small on your view, right?
I can see it.
Cool.
I got the Twitch open.
So this here is actually a copy of Jacob's account, who's been hard at work on, or at least his dev account, getting this feature, the front end portions of it done. And so he decked out Celeste here with a number of, what do we got here? Golden epic items that, do we
Golden legendary.
Golden legendary items.
Whoa.
And in this case, if we've decided that we do not want Celeste to have these anymore, and Celeste has become available for this, which of course is not going to be the case in the live game, but this is our test, we've got this new feature here called Dismantle, and I can bring that up. And what this is going to do is this is going to show a breakdown of what items are going to be removed, what items are going to be changed, and what items you're going to receive if you dismantle your champion. And so in this case, Celeste has got It's a dev build, so we'll have to get that fixed. 1 feat that is purchasable with gems, so that'll be removed, and gems will be credited for that. You can see down here you're getting 50,000 gems, and then all of these golden legendary items are getting converted back into just the ordinary epic versions of them. The rarity of the equipment on this doesn't change with the dismantle, so you'll keep the version of the rarity that you've got. But all of the eye levels will be converted into blacksmith contracts. And so you can see we're going to get all of these. We're going to come back to regular epics, and the shiny item here. It's also going to go back to I've got to get that overlay there fixed. Also going to go back to a regular epic, and then from that you're going to receive a bunch of items here, and some of these are new items, and some of them are sort of a forward change on them. I don't know, Justin, if you want to talk about the potion of shiny for a second, or polish rather.
Yeah, so the potion of polish, we've decided to make a change to that. Currently, you use the potion of polish, and it just applies a shiny item to a random champion and a random item. We're going to upgrade the potion of polish. Instead of applying to a random champion and random item, you get to pick the champion and you get to pick the item. Because why not? Let's just make it better. Yeah, I mean, that's something that people have been asking for a very long time. And when looking at how the redistribution on this works, we thought it was probably from a redistribution standpoint, it seemed like that was the fairest thing to do when you were taking the item off the champion. And sort of we went back and forth on it here and thought, you know what? Why don't we just make all of the potions of polish work that way? So buff across the board for that one. Mm-hmm. So looking at what we're getting here, and I'm going to have to talk to no, that's right, they are in order. There's just the mix of contracts in the middle. We've got this legendary potion level 6, legendary potion level 1, legendary potion level 2. And they have no description.
Dun, dun, dun. And so each one of these, when you use them on another champion, will take a piece of epic equipment and make it the legendary level that is listed on the potion. But it won't add to that level. I don't know, Justin, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, so these new legendary potions, they basically, like if you have a level 6 legendary and you dismantle that champion, you'll get a level 6 potion. And you can use that to set an existing epic or legendary item to level 6. You can't use it on something that's already higher than the level of the potion. And there's one of these potions for each item that you disenchant. So if you've got like a level 1 legendary and a level 2 legendary and a level 4 legendary, you'll get a level 1, 2, and 4 potion when you dismantle. And you'll be able to use those to set another champion's equipment to legendary at level 1, 2, and 4. If it's already legendary, like say it's a legendary level 2 and you use a level 4 potion on it, you'll get a level 2 potion back and it'll be set to level 4. So basically you just take all of the time and scales and everything that and favor that you've put into the legendary item on one champion and move it to another champion.
Yeah. Okay. And then we've got some blacksmith contracts here. Everyone knows what those are and how to use them. We've got the potion of polish, and then we've got this epic golden potion. So this is a fun one. I'm going to see if we can actually get this to work. I'm not going to push the yes button on here because I think they're still working on the back end on this side, and I don't want us to end up with an error there. So I'm going to hop back out of here, but I do know that there were some of those potions in Jacob's inventory here. Here we go, epic golden potion. And let's see if this works. So it's going to let you pick a champion to use it on. Let's just say I'm going to use it on Bruenor. And it's going to pop up here, and it's going to show what options are available. And this is restricted based on what equipment already exists in the game in a golden epic form. So you won't be able to make items that don't already exist in the game as a golden epic form golden epic, but you will be able to apply it to any item that already exists in a golden epic form. And the nice thing about this potion is it actually pulls it up to golden epic. So if you had just a common version of that item on our equipment on the character and you used it, that would actually bump it all the way up to all the way up to epic and all the way up to golden. So that's a pretty sweet potion. So I'm just going to pull it off here and see if it works on any notched axe. Yes, as Justin is noting, his animation is tied to the speed, which we really should fix.
Ooh, that was cool.
And there it goes. And now the mini axe is golden. And since I've got a bunch of these, let's just do it again. And boom, golden.
Wow.
Boom.
So cool.
Golden. Perfect. All right. So that's a lot of fun. Let's see if I can put this legend. I don't know if this works. I didn't test this earlier. Bam. Legendary.
Ooh.
All right. Anything else you want to add to that, Justin?
No, I mean, I think we're working on this, getting this feature done, and we want to get it out kind of as quickly as we can, and make sure that it's available for, I think, Ashara at the beginning, and then we'll kind of evaluate how it's going, and whether we want to expand that to any other champions that we've kind of done work on in the past that may not be as powerful as they were before, but we're not really committing to doing it to anyone but Ashara for the first bit.
Cool. All right, then with that out of the way, let's get on with the regular show. Updates. So there was on the last during the last show, I did mention that if you were having some performance or some crashing issues, to open a ticket with Sean and and let him know to pass it on to me. I did get some of those accounts on and profiled over the last week, and I did get two memory leaks I found in there and got them fixed. And just from my testing, the first pass through, my client crashed overnight when testing, and then once we were fixed, it managed to go a full about 19 hours before I ended up closing it to go into the next test, so it hadn't run out at that point. So it's definitely an improvement, and I will continue to review accounts that get sent in for that. We still have ongoing stuff for the shop. The shop is still, we're still busy making improvements to Shop 3, so if you're on that shop, you should be getting regular updates. We've got some objective details improvement on the multi-parties display coming. I see the Briv skip cap feed is still in progress, and I've got work in progress on the Dismantle Champion system, which coming very, very soon. Yeah. Well, let's move on to questions that were left over from the previous shows. Looks like you've only pulled up a couple, but that's okay because we've already, yeah. So first question here is from Foolish Genius 89. And the question is, it feels very bad being a key champion variant in one party, finishing a level in another party, and coming back to see the original formation ruined. Could you lock the key champs until that variant is closed?
Yeah, I pulled this question up because that should be the way it's working. If it's not working that way, then that is a bug, and we need to get that fixed. As soon as you start the adventure, whatever key champion is there should be fixed until you finish that adventure. It shouldn't change if you complete adventures or variants in another party. Okay. And the next question, the other question that I pulled up from last week's show is from 70 with an I. And they said, would you introduce some more sound settings in the future, such as the option to have the sounds automatically muted if you click off the game and it loses focus?
Yeah, that's not a bad suggestion. I know I've heard other suggestions around different types of sounds being turned on and offable, just because some of them can get a little bit on the obnoxious side if the speed is way up, etc. So yeah, I think it'd be great to add some additional sound settings for that, and at the very least something that just mutes it when you're clicked off. I think that makes sense from a standpoint of if you're leaving it running and you just want to go over to do something else. Yeah, I like it. Let's mark that down and take a look.
Cool. And I just got a message from Peter who said that there is a fix for the key champion stuff, just waiting to be merged back into the main version of the game. So that'll get out in the coming weeks.
Okay.
All platforms.
And as we get into the doc here, I'm seeing a note again. Justin, you're coming through quiet.
Yeah. I need to just start yelling.
I'm gonna bump you up to 150. Let's close that. Let's see if that's better. Fingers crossed.
Is 150 better than 11?
I mean, it's a lot higher than 11. Okay.
Let's see. I guess we should get some questions going.
We can start with that.
Oh, we can do this one here too. Yeah, okay.
First question here from today is from SailNet. The question is, it's been almost 3 months since Mahen's third spec was pulled. Is bringing it back something that's likely to happen in the near future?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is very close to being done. It's likely going to go out in the next set of builds for Steam, or not for Steam, for Switch, if it's not already. Peter says it's supposed to be live, but Peter has not yet done it. So it's going to be live pretty soon, I think. I think it might actually be in the last Switch version, but just needs to be turned back on. So yes, that is something that will be enabled as soon as possible. I believe it's all the issues that we were having with it have been tested, and they are all good. Next question is from Jack Abbey, who asks, are y'all planning on doing Steam Deck support?
Should work just great on the Steam Deck. We actually have a Steam Deck dev version here that we've played it on, and other than the controls being there were some issues with the controllers not working as controllers. There's a touchscreen support which works just fine. Our understanding at the time, we haven't actually gotten back to looking at the control portion of it, was that a number of games were having issues recognizing the Steam Deck controls as the Xbox controllers, because it's kind of like the default emulation on that. But it was something that Steam was looking at, so I need to get back and take another look at that and see if that's been updated at this point. But the game runs on the Steam Deck, runs great, and you can play it, but you can play it with the touchscreen, not with the gamepad controls right now. Okay, next question from Tickled. Okay, and they ask
from a player.
Yes. With champs growing in power for longer players, is the Zone 2000 limit going to expand in the future?
Yes, I would imagine that it will sometime in the future. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that it was around 1,000 or 1,100, and so as we kind of push the power curve, of course we will push that limit up as well.
Yeah.
The next question is from JDog2773, and they ask, will the in-game chat support foreign characters? Can rooms be designated for certain languages?
Yeah, so that's a good question. We'll have to dig into that a little bit further. There's no reason off the top of my head that it can't support foreign characters. The only challenge that we've run into so far is that the way it's set up right now, it doesn't load the fonts if you're in a different language. Looks if you're set to English, it doesn't load the Chinese language fonts, which may or may not be a problem, given that may not be something you can read anyway. So it does seem to make more sense that the chat be designated by language, but it isn't something that we've had time to put a lot of thought into at this point. So it definitely is something that needs to be addressed. I know I saw some reports that were coming in that the people who were typing in foreign languages was resulting in unrecognizable gibberish appearing in or just blank spaces or characters that weren't properly rendered appearing in other people's games, which then they couldn't even click the username to mute them, which of course is a real problem. So that is definitely something that needs further investigation into what to do about that, just in general, because it's definitely a new problem. All right. Here's a fun one. Next question here is from BizQuit, asking about Twitch drops. Does the game lets you integrate Twitch for drops? I've never seen a drop, only codes. Am I missing something?
No, you're not missing anything. We did do Twitch drops once or twice as kind of a test with Twitch. We were actually one of the first games to do Twitch drops. And we haven't done it since. The way that it was implemented worked, but it wasn't, I don't know, there were some kind of just some issues with the way that it was implemented. So I think if we were going to go back and do some more Twitch drops, we'd probably look at how that works and how that's integrated and what kind of item we drop. 'Cause I think there was one skin that was a Twitch drop only, and I don't think we would do something like that again. But maybe for chests or stuff. I'd have to check with marketing to see if they're really planning to do any more Twitch drop stuff. But as far as I know, there's no plans to do that in the near future.
Yeah, it was definitely something that came with some pros and cons. One of them, of course, being that the one of benefit of being that you get a lot of players watching, a stream where we're giving away something exclusive. But at the same time, if people were missing that stream, it definitely generated a lot of concern about missing out on that particular drop. And so it's something we have to balance carefully. Next question here from Alpha Kroll. Yes, that's how we say that. Does the game remember all contracts and polish used on all champs, so we get a proper return? Or are there ways to cheese this with random drops from opening all chests?
So the game doesn't actually refund you exactly what you spent on the champions. It literally just sets them down to 1 and gives you everything that that it takes to do that. So if you've opened chests to get item levels up on a champion, it will return you blacksmithing contracts, even though you didn't specifically use blacksmithing contracts to get those item levels. Same with potions of polish. If you get a random shiny out of a chest, you'll get a potion of polish back, even though you didn't necessarily use a potion of polish to get that. So it's not necessarily about refunding specifically what you've spent. It's just about basically resetting that champion back to 0 and giving you everything it would take to get them back up there.
Yep. Next question is from the Real Bunny Beast. Similar vein, should Scales of Tiamat also be in the refund list?
Yeah, so as we discussed, it's we just return you those legendary potions, which are better than Scales of Tiamat because you don't have to worry about the scaling costs of crafting. You don't have to worry about spending the favor to upgrade. So it's just basically a one shot to get back up to where you were. I mean, one thing that was very important for us was that if you did this, if you dismantled a champion's stuff, and then you had a little bit of regret for doing that, you could actually take all the stuff you got off of them and just apply it back to them and get them to basically the exact same power. The item levels might be a little bit different because of the randomness of how blacksmithing potions work, but you would basically be able to just get them back to where they were point for point. You might have different legendary effects because the legendary potions, I don't believe they retain the effect, so you can't transfer an effect from one champion to another. It's just like you kind of randomly crafted that item, so you'll get a new effect and a new favor requirement.
All right. Next question here from Hero Complex 84. Is there something that keeps you from dismantling your evergreens just to harvest a huge pile of blacksmith contracts?
Yes, there is. The ability to dismantle is something that we are tightly controlling. So you're not able to just dismantle whatever champion you want. We don't want the game to become this min-maxing thing where you just put 100% of your stuff onto the 10 champions you're using, and if you use a different set of champions, you take all your stuff off those 10 and put it onto another. We will only be enabling this dismantle feature for specific champions for specific amounts of time. So you wouldn't be able to dismantle all your evergreens and put them on to some other champion or get all the blacksmithing contracts and that. You'd only be able to dismantle the one that we have, or the ones that we have enabled it for within the period of time that we have. And you can only do it once per champion. So you couldn't, for example, you can't dismantle Ashara and then open a whole bunch more chests and stuff and then dismantle them again to get more blacksmithing contracts.
All right, next question here is from Frowning Fish. Do legendary potions keep the same favor when reapplied?
So I don't think so.
They have not been coded to do so at this moment.
Yes, so they basically sort of craft it as if they kind of just crafted that item and leveled it up to the level of the legendary item without you having to pay anything. So you'll get a random favor and a random effect.
Okay. Next question here is from Shudan111. Did you also include a refund system for when a shiny landed on an already maxed out slot 6 item?
Mm-hmm. So this is the item level redistribution that we've been talking about for many years, and It is not in the version that we're going to kind of push out ASAP, but it is like ridiculous. Like I wanted to include it with this, but we want to get the
Chris said no.
the system out. We want to get the system out ASAP. So this is a secondary thing, and I am going to be pushing for this to be included in the next couple of weeks. Is my hope.
Yeah, I think this kind of sets in a precedent of being able to refund eye levels for blacksmithing contracts, which I think solves sort of the maxed out redistribution of the slot thing. So hopefully we can get something in there that'll refund blacksmith contracts for those eye levels that are over the cap.
Yeah.
Yep. Next question is from Jabsis. What about the supports you level for a champ? Ashara doesn't do it all solo.
Yeah, this is a hard one for us. We want this system to kind of be more like a scalpel than a sledgehammer. With the specific champions that have had the core changes. I think for a lot of supports, if they're good for one champion, they'll generally be pretty good for another. So we're not at this time we're not going to be sort of widely enabling the dismantle system for all champions that a other champion could have been used with, because it just sort of spirals out of control, and at that point we may as well just enable it for everyone. And if we enable it for everyone, we start to get into those kind of farming exploits and ways that this system could be abused for the detriment of the game. So we want this to be a net positive for the game, so that's why we're focusing it mainly on the champions that are receiving the specific changes that make them harder to use or less effective. Next question is from Foolish Genius 89, and they ask, will potions of polish be valued the same in the shop after this change?
That's not something that we've discussed, but off the top of my head, my answer would be yes, they will remain the same. I can't see a reason for us to change it at this point. Sort of going forward, that additional value is just they're just better after this. That's all there is to it. We're just making them better, and we're not gonna I know that I've said it. We can't take it away. You can't take it back now.
We can take back anything we say on this show.
We will not be changing the value of that.
No, I don't. No. I don't think that makes. I think it's intended to be a net positive change across the board.
Yeah, for sure. Next question is from Emmett. Am I saying that wrong? An emote with two M's. It's emote, right?
It's emote.
Every time. Every time. You said last week you'd be adding an option to start Trials of Mount Tiamat run the moment everyone has joined. Are you also considering adding the ability for us to pre-make a group and have it start the moment the 6-day cooldown is up, so that we don't all have to be there at the same time?
So that's not in the first set of kind of changes that we have spec'd out. It's an interesting idea of a way to kind of sort of make your group ahead of time, even though you're still all on cooldown. But there's not plans to do that right now. Maybe in the future. It's not a bad idea to kind of optimize your time, basically. The next question is from Serum9, and they ask, in the Champions Collection panel, could you also add average item level?
I don't see why we couldn't do that. The only question I would have around something like that, and maybe I'm missing, is this something that players are going to find useful? That's sort of off the top of my head, I don't see an immediate use for it, and so we try not to.
I think the use case is if players want to be able to compare their sort of item levels with other players, and so currently the way you do that is by opening up like the Blacksmith contract UI, and that'll show you the average item level of all your champions. But it's obviously not ideal.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a reasonable value for that to be there. I think we could do that.
Yeah. I've got my sniffles again.
Uh-oh.
Just like last week.
Okay.
Can't get sick through the
through the camera? I hope not.
The camera.
Next question is from Chengen99. Can we get a year sort on the time gates?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I'm surprised that we don't have like a kind of sort by champion ID kind of thing. I guess it kind of makes sense that we don't, because that's, yeah, it feels like that could be something that the time gate thing could show. I think that would be especially helpful on some variants that we just designed. So yeah, I could see that being useful.
Cool.
We can pass that along to the team, and they can grind their teeth as we ask them for more and more features while they're trying to do the ones we've already asked for.
Anyway, next question here is from Vovcast, and this is a question around the potions of the legendary potions. And the question is, I can't figure it out. I need help with the right choice. When upgrading legendaries, usually players can choose upgrading one high level item is better, let's say level 9 to level 10, because you're getting the same bonus you had before, costing 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 equals 44k for only 10 scales. Or 2, upgrading 2 low level items is better, let's say 2 level 4 to level 5, because you're getting the same 2 double damage bonuses instead of 1 with the same scales.
Yeah, so this is kind of a strategy question around upgrading legendaries, and I think that you would be better off to upgrade 2 items than upgrade just 1 item, because each legendary level essentially just doubles the effect, and doubling 2 effects is going to give you a sort of a 4 times boost, whereas doubling 1 effect will just give you a 2 times boost. So I think that upgrading 2 low level items would be twice as good as upgrading 1 high level item. So go wide instead of deep, I think, is the idea.
All right.
At least the way the system is right now. Who knows? That could change. Let's see. The next question is from Insomniac68, and they ask, what happened with the Razer support? I just purchased some Razer products and had selected the Razer support button in settings. Nothing happened, and now the Razer support option has disappeared.
So I don't know 100% what happened there. I know initially, so the Razer support is something that we added, I want to say 3 years ago now? At least 2.5 years ago, which of course added the RGB support for keyboard and mouse. But it wasn't a very popular used feature, and we don't have very many Razer peripherals here at the office, so I know none of us were using it. And I know that a support message came in last week that I oversaw or overheard per se, that someone had enabled it and then their game client had crashed, and I don't know what the resolution on that ended up being. So I'm not sure if it was pulled temporarily while it gets looked at, or what's going on there. But I can pass that inquiry along to Peter and find out what happened with that. But I definitely know something around it was looked at because it had caused a player's client to get locked in once they'd enabled it crashed, and then after that the game just got into a stuck state. So that might have been the solution, was to disable it temporarily. So I'll check with Peter and find out what's going on with that.
Okay, so if you'll all look over into chat, you will see that we have just started a chess giveaway. This is your chance to win 42 chests of your choice. All you have to do to that is type Revenge of the Sixth into chat for a chance to win 42 chests of your choice. You can choose whatever kind of chests you want. You can choose gold chests, you can choose champion chests, you can choose Modron component chests. That's what I would choose. You can choose silver chests, I guess, if you hate loot and don't want any of it. You can get Electrum chests if you want sort of a wide variety of loot added to your champions. So Revenge of the Sixth in chat. I think that'll last for a minute or two, and then they will draw a winner. The only one you can't choose is Bahamut chests. Yeah. Let's see. Let's go on to the next question here. This is a question from Rock and Roll. Got it. Will you be getting the game to work on Proton for Linux in general?
So I guess this is a follow-up question from the Steam Deck question earlier on. In general, I don't know that we have development cycles to look into making the game or to confirming and troubleshooting the game on Linux. But I don't see any reason why it wouldn't run on Proton, given that it is running on the Steam Deck. So, I mean, if players want to try running on that and let us know that it works or not, that's awesome. But like I said, I don't think we've got the development cycles to be looking into that directly, especially not with a large enough audience there to make it worth our while to add another build kind of thing to the pipeline. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely one of the challenges is that it takes every build we add. So currently we're out for like Steam on PC and Mac, and Epic on PC and Mac, and Android and Apple and Xbox and PlayStation and Switch, and
I think that's all of them.
CNEgames.com. We're out on a whole bunch of platforms. Every one of those adds an extra amount of time for us to take to push out a build for that, and so it gets quite. I know on build day, Peter's just like, "Don't talk to me. Like I'm busy. I'm busy fighting with the PlayStation, trying to figure out how to what it wants." So
that's right. Or we're just waiting for the build. It's like, but you're waiting. No, I'm busy being angry at it.
Yeah. Busy just brooding.
Yep.
But so it's certainly a challenge to continue to add more of those.
Yeah. But like I say, you're more than welcome to grab the Windows client and try and run it on Proton. I don't see why it wouldn't run. So, okay, next question is Loki Gromel asking, would it be possible to have Titania's faithful friends limited to fielded champions and not end up under NPCs?
Yeah, so this sounds like a bug. If it is ending up under escorts or slots where you can't put a champion, that is a bug. So I will highlight that for Dave to pass on to Peter at the end of the show.
Okay, next question. I hope, right? Next question is from Fizzban1970. Can you give some insight on how you determine the total levels of a champion and the reason some champion levels much higher than others, or champions level much higher than others?
Yeah, I can answer that for sure. I can give some insight on that on Dev. What are we? Is it Dev Insights? Yes, I can provide.
It'll be the first time in 39 episodes.
This is the first time someone's actually asked for my Dev Insight. Yes, so the reason that champions level to the level they do is because every champion has a different sort of cost scaling, and the levels and where their upgrades unlock is based more off of the total amount of gold spent on the champion than the actual level number on the champion. So all the balance is done based around the total amount of gold spent, and not the actual level. So if you've got a champion that levels up, that the cost goes up very, very slowly, then that champion will have a higher level at the end of the game, but it will have, or at sort of their soft cap, but it will be the same amount of gold that you've spent on that from level 1 up to whatever that level is, as a champion that levels up much more steeply, that will end at a lower level. So it's all based on the total amount of gold spent, and not the level. And if you want to know the reason why we chose to do different cost scalings and have a whole bunch of different levels, I would have to go back in time and slap myself in the face, because that was a dumb design decision. But we did it, and we're stuck with it now.
So I got to correct you. Doing a quick Google search here in our giant doc, which has all the questions from all the shows in it, actually.
Someone's asked for our insight before?
It's happened twice before, actually. Twice. We've got one here.
1 in 13.
Someone named Imacorv asked an insight into Epic Games launch, and that was in episode 7, back in July of 2021. And we've got another one here that was actually asked by Doorbell Streams about insight into what changes would occur with trials. And this was asked December 9th of 2021 in episode 24. So
there we go.
There's now been 3 times when this has happened.
Well, it's very exciting. I feel like now that we've mentioned it, it's going to happen more often, but I think we'll just have to start flagging questions that ask for our insight and just always answering those. So yeah. Next question. Jelani asks, any insight into when the new store rollout will complete for all accounts?
That was worded.
It doesn't actually say insight, but
no, we're still testing and replying and updating based on feedback in the current store, and we took a minor detour by reprioritizing some of the development time we had on that to getting this dismantle.
The redismantle.
It's been a long internal discussion about what to call the system, and we've had various names for it. And okay, so the dismantle system, and we're going to get right back to the store stuff after that's completed. But yeah, we don't have an exact date, but the sooner we can get it done, we'd like to get it done sooner than later, is what I'll say about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question here is from Raphael, 9340. Could you guys explain the design of the champions? How do you decide the abilities and what they do? Their ultimates, attacks, and stats. Thank you.
Yeah, so since we're a D&D game, we rely pretty heavily on just the D&D stuff that drives those characters. Not many of our characters are completely original. We pull from a lot of different places. We pull from existing D&D books. We pull from existing D&D games. We pull obviously from streams, D&D tabletop games. So it's kind of the first thing we do is look at the character as they exist in those places, and figure out what kind of character it should be, whether it should be a support character, DPS, tank, etc. And then we kind of look at cool things that have happened in their past for inspiration for their abilities and their ultimates and their attacks. And then we just kind of build out the character and try to find cool ways to have them interact with other champions in the formation, have cool abilities that will hopefully not be broken and will be very balanced, and sometimes we succeed at that. So it's pretty fun.
All right. Next question from Fewer Pills. Fewer Pills? Is that Fewer Pills? It is. Even if it sounds greedy as a question, I'm just wondering if those new potions could also be rewards in upcoming Idle Champions Presents or celebrations in game, or if they will only be available in dismantling.
Yeah, so I mean it's pretty early. We just kind of literally designed these things earlier this week. I think that they could potentially pop up in the future in celebrations as rewards for the quarterly celebrations, as rewards for other things. I'm not completely against the idea of them popping up in a couple of places, but we don't have any sort of solid plans on any of that stuff yet. So maybe.
Okay. Next question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's right. Too late. It's mine now.
Okie dokie.
Foolish Genius 89 asks, are those legendary potions also part of the Trials rework you've talked about?
No, they're not. So there are some plans for some changes to legendary items during the Trials rework. These potions are separate from that. So yeah. No plans to include them in there.
Okay. Next question. I don't know if you've seen this, Justin, like the link there that Mars was sharing in the channel before. Maybe you have, maybe you hadn't. But this question is from Snowbsnake94 asking, can we get Mars report card in game? And this was a request around a display that Mars had shared with us. So I assume he shared with the on his stream as well, as my guess, because otherwise they wouldn't know about it.
Yeah, this looks. I don't know if we can.
Bring it up.
Yeah, why don't you try and bring it up in our other screen, and I can kind of look at it like this.
Sure.
Maybe that's a thing that can happen.
Go do here. Just do a paste.
Oh, it's all black.
Did that work? No.
Whoa. Oh.
Just a second. We'll just save this. Oh my gosh. I got it.
Dark.
Yeah, I got it.
I mean, I think sort of looking at this, it looks like this is actually similar in kind of intent to something I've talked about on a lot of streams.
There we go.
Where
I got it.
Oh,
it's in the wrong layer.
We're behind it.
There we go.
Let me out. So yeah, this thing's pretty cool. I think this kind of reminds me of the collection screen revamp that I've always kind of talked about doing, which would be some way to kind of at a glance tell how well you are progressing through the game and sort of tell what your progress is. And I think the idea of having a thing that shows all the champions that you've collected, and more specifically which ones you haven't collected, show which patrons you've unlocked and how much of those patrons stuff you've completed, how many familiars you have, how many feats you have, how many time gates you've completed, just a whole bunch of stats. And I think this kind of thing is a really good inspiration for that kind of thing. With that said, we've talked about, if you've been on the stream before, you've heard me talk about this. It is a very not a very, but it's a lower priority thing than a lot of the other kind of features we're working on that are more sort of directly related to expanding gameplay and options in that regard. So I think something like that would be really cool someday. But no idea of when that'll happen.
Cool. All right.
Let's see.
Feverishly
keep on
highlight some questions down here. Here's a question that I could probably answer. I think we got one here.
Oh, sure. I will ask you that one. All right. So here's a question from Malkavir, who asks, is the Trials of Tiamat getting a UI overhaul along with other reworks? Figuring out how to start a solo campaign is an absolute pain.
Yeah, and that's so from a lot of the discussion around the Trials of Tiamat updates, we hadn't talked a lot about UI, but that is something that that we can take a look at if people are having issues with figuring out how to start the campaign. I mean, like I say, this isn't something we'd been looking at, but I'd be eager to hear if that is something that isn't immediately apparent on how to work that, and some suggestions for improvements on that. We could get them in. We could definitely take a look at it. But the short answer is we don't have anything currently planned. But yeah, let us know. Send some feedback in. You can always get feedback to me through Sean. I know he's probably shake his fist. This is from the show. Pass it through to David, and he does pass it on to me. So. Okay, next question here is from Jacabi. What are the nerds' candy being put in the gem? When? There we go. What? When are the nerds champion, the candy one, being put in the gem shop? I checked the promotion website and apparently ended already.
So the nerds are being added to the shop as part of Shop 3, which is the shop update that is currently available to roughly half of our Steam and Epic players. So it's as we roll that update out to more players, they will become available in there. That's the whole answer.
Let's go to the next one there.
I highlighted this one the wrong color.
The one in between.
A question here from Maniac Clown. I've heard this question before, and they're asking, when will we be able to get a windowed full screen mode so you can have 1920 by 1080 but still be able to access your taskbar?
So I'm a little bit confused by this question.
As we often are when it comes up.
Windowed full screen gives you access to your taskbar? Are you saying on one monitor? Because it should be. Like, I know we've been through this before where we made sure that the game was being built in a fashion that if you had it open on one monitor full screen and you went over and clicked onto the other screen, it did not, it was in a particular setup hiding when you did that, like it was going out of full screen mode, and we made sure to adjust that so that it stayed in full screen mode so you could continue to work on another monitor. And so unless that's reverted, and let me know if that has been reverted, but I don't know that there's a mode, and I mean, someone will correct me if I'm wrong, that you can have on a single monitor where the game is full screen and yet you can still see the taskbar. So maybe I'm misunderstanding what's being requested there. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next question. This one is from Real Verge. I'm glad you're reaching back in time with GM, but is there any chance of also adding a champion from and giving a nod to one of the first D&D video games, Pool of Radiance? Yep, I played this on the Commodore 64.
You did, or is that part of the question?
That's part of the question.
Because I have not played.
I'm a
Pool of
little young
Radiance.
for a Commodore 64.
Not me. I'm an old
Marginally, you know.
You could have had one in the garage.
Nintendo generation.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're always kind of open to reaching back into the history of D&D and finding cool things to pull forward. I know that we've got some cool stuff planned for this fall with some older content that we're sort of pulling forward. So yeah, I mean, I think that it could potentially happen. There's no plans as far as I'm aware to look back into that particular game, but we're always looking at fun things to pull into the game from sort of D&D's past. I mean, it's one of the reasons why having the D&D license is so awesome, because there's just so much stuff there that we can pull from, and it makes it very hard to kind of ever run out of cool content to add to the game. So yeah, for sure.
So just watching what they were saying in the chat around the windowless full screen, I wonder if actually what you're looking for is the ability to change the resolution. The request is that it's basically it fills the whole screen, but doesn't have the doesn't have the header bar on it. And with the header bar on a full screen, it goes over top of the taskbar. I wonder if you could just change the resolution to, in the settings file, to like 1920 by 980 or something like that. Because you can do that if you modify the settings. There's a local settings JSON file in one of the, I think it's in the streaming assets folder, one folder in from the main executable. And if you change it there, I bet you could make the window just slightly shorter, and that might get you what you're asking for, if I understand what's going on there. Yeah. Okay. Next question is from Guardians, asking for Tatiana. Some variants have escorts that change. Would that mean that your target slot would change when an escort moves to that slot, or is it added to that slot?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's a very annoying edge case for Tatiana. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure how I would approach that. I would probably say that the target slot would move when an escort moves into that slot. You might get down to a situation where Tatiana doesn't have any more valid slots for her best friend, whatever the ability is specifically called. So yeah, we'd have to look at that and make sure that still works. The idea is basically that you always have as much as whenever possible that you have a slot that you can put a champion into that will benefit from the buff. We don't want that buff to be pointed at an escort really at any time, as long as we can avoid it.
All right. Moving on. Frosty Derighty asks, hi, about legendary potions. Would it be possible to use them on a champion who already has full legendary items? And if so, what would happen?
Yeah, so the legendary potions, there's actually 10 different versions of the potion. There's a level 1 legendary, level 2 legendary, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6. So there's one potion for each of the kind of first 10 levels. And if you try to use them on a champion who has all legendary items, you would be able to use one if the potion level is higher than one of the champion's existing legendaries. So if the champion had all level 4 legendaries, you wouldn't be able to use a level 1, 2, 3, or 4 potion on them, but you'd be able to use a level 5, 6, 7, or 8, or 9, or 10 potion on them. And in that case, the legendary would get upgraded to that level, and then you would get a level 4 legendary potion back. So it would just replace a legendary if you had a lower level legendary on that champion. So that is what would happen. Some people are asking about what if you have a legendary higher than level 10. So we're maxing the legendary refund at level 10 right now, and we will be evaluating that on a case-by-case basis. I think there's probably going to be some changes to legendaries down the road that will add more of a hard cap to the legendary level, and we will make sure that there will be some good compensation if we end up doing that.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to know how many people have a legendary over 10.
It's probably not that many.
Of course, that does feel like something we could easily check.
It does feel like, yeah.
All right, next question. This one is from Real Verge, asking, has there been a character you've spent time coding, one which you were all excited but had to scrap because it just didn't work in the game very well?
Yeah, so the one that sort of immediately jumps to mind is Xeraphon's original design. So Xeraphon originally wasn't going to mimic enemies. Xeraphon's ultimate was going to mimic one of your other champions with all of their abilities and and equipment and buffs and everything. And unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, before we got too far into that, we determined that would be a huge pain in the butt.
Oh, for sure.
And that is understating how much of a pain in the butt that would have been. So we decided to pull back on that and have Xeraphon mimic some other stuff. I still think it would have been really fun to have like a couple of, two Celestes in the formation, or two other champions. Sure, two Artemises. That would have just been, I don't even know how that would have worked.
Yeah.
So some of those issues are why it kind of got scrapped. So it would have been fun. It probably would have been horribly broken, and it definitely would have been horribly buggy.
Yeah, that was one that I remember. We're having a meeting around that, and when I was told what the campaign was going to do, my very first words out of my mouth was no, no, it is not going to do that. No.
I was like, wait, let's see. Maybe it'll be cool.
No.
But no.
That would have been one heck of a headache. We'd probably still be fixing bugs related to it. So as cool as it sounds, everyone, you did not want us to be the content of every show being questions about when are you going to fix bug related to this copy of this character and this. Yeah, nope. Yeah. And of course, that going forward, that would be one that also every champion that we added would likely add additional complications. So that one is one we will probably avoid forever.
Yep. It looks like we are very much
I agree
towards the end of the show
with that.
So if we didn't get to your question today, don't worry, you'll have another opportunity. We will be live again at this same time next week. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods, though this week it was different. It was Mars and Jay this week, so thanks to both of you. They're the guys who copy your questions into our questions doc and generally help to make things awesome. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, and of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking great questions, and enjoying the game. Because without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
We have to do something else.
Goes to the question.
Wait, you didn't say goodbye, everybody.
I was distracted. Someone was asking if Haven was based off of me. No offense. I don't understand.
Offense taken.